Okay, so back again for a weekly recap. This will be a recap of week 12 of the fitness journey. It is now the 2nd of June, Monday the 2nd of June, and we are beginning week 13, but it's just to give an overview of how things went last week, because at the beginning of last week I had lost half a kilo, which is not part of the programme. I'm trying to gain weight at the moment. Functional weight, I might add. I'm not looking to be adding non-functional fat onto my body. I had enough of that at the beginning of this journey, so I'm just trying to add ultimately lean mass, but obviously that will equate to more weight on my body. Last week was a bit of a disappointing result on the Monday last week, that I was half a kilo lighter than the week before. So I made a couple of changes. I was aiming to increase my water intake to roughly 3 litres of water a day as a minimum, really. That was the aim. And to add more rice, more potatoes into my my main meals, so my lunch, my dinner, that type of thing throughout the week. Keep everything else roughly the same, just have a little bit extra rice and a little bit extra potatoes, or include them with a bit more frequency throughout the week. So that is what I've done. I had a good week of training, good results. Strength is continuing to improve. Muscle endurance is continuing to improve through the workouts. No injuries to report, so that's fantastic. And I'll just give you a little breakdown of what I did in week 12 of my fitness journey so far, which is also week 6 of my hypertrophy program, so my muscle building phase. As alluded to in last week's video, I was debating whether I was going to work out legs this week, and I thought I may avoid them, or I may just remove the squats from the workout and do the remaining exercises that I have in my leg routine. As it turned out, I just avoided doing legs completely, so I did not work legs in this last week. And also with regards to the walking, I was just trying to keep it to roughly 10,000 steps a day averaged over the week, so I wasn't looking to do much more than 70,000 steps. So with that said, in terms of the workouts that I did last week, Monday I worked out forearms. It was a great routine. I improved on every single exercise, every set, the weights being lifted, the reps being performed. So that was a great routine. On the Tuesday I worked abs, but I approached that in more of a muscle endurance type of ab workout, where I was basically just doing knee raises while hanging from a bar. So you're doing a dead hang off a bar, much like you would be in the starting position for a pull-up. But I was just bringing my knees to my chest, or knees above hip height, doing 12 reps per minute on the minute for 30 minutes. That was the aim, and I think in the last 5 minutes of it I increased it to 15 reps, but I had great muscle soreness throughout all of my abs for several days after that workout, so that was a good workout. I took active rest on Wednesday. I did chest and triceps on Thursday. I took an active rest day on Friday. I did back and biceps on Saturday, and I did shoulders on Sunday. And all of those routines, I made improvements on the week prior. The weights that I'm lifting are going up across the board, so that is a good sign. So yeah, and no injuries to report. So another good week of training. Now, in terms of my walking, I walked, I did 72,360 steps in the week. So really just over 10,000 steps a day on average, which is good. And that was all in line with trying not to do too much cardio, because the way I approach my walking, I walk with quite a lot of speed. I work up a sweat. I get my heart rate up, I attack the hills. It really is like a workout. That's the way I approach the walking. Walk with purpose, as I like to say. So I didn't want to be doing high volumes of walking because I know it burns a lot of calories. And at the moment, I am trying to add size to my body, and I'm eating a lot. And it takes quite a lot of consistency and dedication to eat the amount I'm eating, and I don't want to have to make that battle harder than it is anyway. So I didn't want to be doing like 100,000 steps, and ultimately you probably have to add at least a couple of meals to your weekly meal intake just to offset the extra steps you'd be doing in that case. I didn't really want to do that, so I thought I'd reduce the steps just down to whatever the bare minimum target that I have, which is averaging 10,000 steps a day. So I did that, and actually, as it stands for the last 12 weeks, that is my lowest step average for a week, doing just over 72,000. Every single other week I have averaged more steps, but I just wanted to see how this would benefit me in terms of trying to regain the weight that I'd lost the previous week and make some strides forward in terms of the weight gain. So the steps was fine. I got the average steps, but I kept it to the bare minimum target. In terms of my water intake, because I was alluding to trying to increase that to a minimum of 3 litres a day averaged out across the week. The water intake in total across the week, I had 24 litres. So if I was averaging 3 litres a day, it would be a 21 litre target for the week. As it stands, I got 24 litres. So if you average that out, I think it averages out to 3.42 litres per day. And then in terms of my meals, the idea was to add more rice and more potatoes, not necessarily both in each meal, but maybe with lunch I might have potatoes or rice, and then with dinner I might have potatoes or rice. And that was the idea, to just start doing that each day with the increased water intake, and to see how that then benefited my ability to gain weight. So I hit the water target. I surpassed it really, because if it was a minimum of 3 litres, I went over that by nearly half a litre per day. I did increase the amount of starchy carbohydrates that I was having with my lunch, my dinner, every single day. So, and I kept everything else the same. I was still having my 2 protein shakes a day. I was still having my superfood shake in the morning with some whey protein added into that. I was having I was having 2 bananas a day, one as part of my pre-workout for each of the routines that I was doing, and one just as a bit of a snack. And then I weighed myself this morning, 7:30 this morning, after I'd been for a pee. And it was a good result actually. It was the best result I've had out of any of the weeks so far. So I'm just going to bring up my weekly weight chart. So this would be week 12 of measuring my weight. I started on the 17th of March 2025, obviously this year, just a couple of months ago, just over 2 months ago, and I was 75.9 kilos. Last week on the Monday I was 82.2 kilograms, having lost half a kilo over the previous week. This morning I was 84 kilos on the dot, 84.0. So that is the biggest weight gain that I've had since recording my weekly weight over the last 12 weeks. And it was a 50% increase on my biggest weekly weight gain thus far. So 1.2 kilos had been the most I'd added in a week. And I added 1.8 kilos over the last week. So I'm literally 1 kilo away from what my target was at the beginning. When I started and I was 75.9 kilos, I thought, look, if I can add, almost 10 kilos, and get myself to like 85, thereabouts, that would be a good target to get to before I then move into a muscle endurance phase. Now, I've still got 3 more weeks of hypertrophy, so muscle building. This is the beginning of week 7 of my hypertrophy phase. And I was planning to do 9 weeks, just because of the timings and everything of when I'm going on holiday, which is ultimately what was spurring me into action to get myself in shape. I wanted to have somewhat of a beach body, look somewhat acceptable, out in the sun with the top off and so on and so forth. As superficial of a goal that is, that is what drove me to get off my backside and to start exercising again. So I have this week, the next 2 weeks, then I'm going to do an active rest week. And in that week, I am going to look to increase the amount of steps I'm doing. My aim is actually to get a record week that week. The record so far on the last 12 weeks is just over 130,000 steps in a week. And I'm planning to put the target to 140,000. So manageable, and I don't think I'll be looking to do any like crazy days, because I had, like, on my birthday, which was at the beginning of May, I went out and did 34,000 steps, I believe it was, on that day. But I got a lot of chafing, and it took me a few days to recover from that. I was quite sore right on my upper legs. So I don't think I'll be looking to go for like long walks like that, but I will be looking to try and average it to 20,000 steps a day, and probably try and get 20,000 steps a day and keep it to that amount, because I believe that's manageable for me. I've done 20,000 on quite a number of days, and I didn't experience any chafing or any issues like that. So that is the plan. So this week, plus the next 2 weeks of muscle building, take a week off resistance training completely, walk every day, 20,000 steps a day, trying to get 140,000 steps over the week, which would be a record week. Approach all those steps with enthusiasm, a little bit of pace, speed, work up a sweat, get the heart rate up, attack the hills, that type of thing, because you're treating it as a cardio week with very, very low impact on the body. So it'll keep you loose. And then do 4 weeks after that of muscle endurance workouts. So that'll be high volume reps, low weight, low rest periods, for the resistance training aspect of that. But I will also be looking to include 3, the idea as a minimum really is 3 interval training sessions as well, for each of those weeks. And the interval training sessions will be no longer than 10 minutes, like 10 rounds. And I'll probably start off where I just do 20 seconds of real high intensity movement using my Max Trainer, so very similar to a cross trainer. But again, it's like no impact or very low impact, so it doesn't beat my body up in that sense. 20 seconds as hard as I can go, 40 seconds recovery, repeat for 10 rounds, and that'll be the interval training. So that should really start kicking in the fat burning on my body, and I will look to remove a lot of the starchy carbs from my diet. I will probably have some, but I'll be removing a lot of them. to try and get my carbohydrate intake, my sugar intake down. As per usual, I'll still be having like fibrous carbohydrates, so a lot of vegetables, things like that. I will keep the starchy carbohydrates to a much reduced level than I'm having them at the moment. And I will make sure that we keep simple sugars, highly processed sugars, to a minimum. Ideally, I won't have any of them. And that as well is going to help start to stimulate a lot of fat burning. And that is really what I'll do for 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, I think, on the lead up to me going away with the family on holiday. And hopefully that will give us enough time to sort of shred some of the lower belly fat. My physique is coming along. It's certainly made some pretty significant improvements over the last couple of weeks. Not a couple of weeks. Well, a couple of weeks it has done well, but over the last couple of months since starting this whole regime. But for men, it's the lower belly fat, those bottom two abs. It's always like the first place you add fat and the last place that your body wants to strip fat from. So we'll see how that goes. And fingers crossed, that will get me in some reasonable shape. Obviously, the journey doesn't end in August, but I'm going on holiday in August, and no doubt, all the sort of structured diet that I've been having over the last 2-3 months will be out the window when we're on holiday. I'll be at the whim of other family members because we're going to be sharing the cooking. There's going to be 10 of us going, all of this type of stuff. It's not in a hotel. This will be, sort of, I don't know whether it's like Airbnb style accommodations, but essentially it's rented accommodations. We haven't got a chef there, so I think the burden on the cooking is going to be shared across the family members. So it just comes down to what each family member decides to cook. So yeah, I won't get too stressed over that sort of stuff. Let my hair down, as it were, and eat whatever there is. So, and then I'll get back on the program when I get back, and no doubt it'll be back to hypertrophy. I think I'm just going to cycle between hypertrophy and muscle endurance, majority of the time. So I'll get back into a hypertrophy phase probably for another 8 to 10 weeks. And we'll go from there. But at the moment, the weight gain is going excellently since the 17th of March, when I first took my weight at the beginning of this fitness routine. I was 75.9 kilos, and this morning I was 84. So that's 8.1 kilograms added in 12 weeks, roughly. 3 months, there or thereabouts, which is it's pretty good going. And my idea was to get to 85, but the fact is I'm going to continue to try and add weight until the end of the hypertrophy phase. So wherever that ends up, maybe I lose weight over this week, who knows? Maybe I add, another 1.5 to 2 kilos over the next week. I don't really know, but wherever it ends in 3 weeks' time, that's where I will stop actively trying to add functional weight. And then I will start to actively try and strip body fat while maintaining as much lean muscle mass as possible. So yeah, that's where we're at. Anyway, hope you're having a great day. Hope you've had a great week. As always, stay injury free, train sensibly, listen to your body, and have a good week. And I'll do probably another workout video this week for a different body part. Obviously, I've put a leg workout video up there. I've done a chest workout video. So obviously we've got a back video to put out there, we've got shoulders routine to put out there. I can put my very basic ab workouts up that I'm doing at the moment. These aren't necessarily recommendations for how you should be exercising, but it's just showing what I am doing and trying to document the results that I'm having as I go. I will also probably, well, it might be this week, I don't know, but I will try and do like a day in the life of my eating sort of thing, my meal plans for a day, because they pretty much stay the same. The only thing that changes at the moment is the type of meat I might be having with my lunch or with my dinner, that type of thing. Everything else pretty much stays the same. The snacks are the same, the protein shakes are the same, the breakfast shake is the same, and I've got a video on the site, on my channel, of that. The only difference now is that I'm also adding a scoop of whey protein into that at the end, so that makes it no good for vegans. But if you're a vegan and you want to add a bit of extra protein, put some vegan protein powder in there, and that'll do the job. Yeah, and maybe I'll just show how I prepare my meals and how the plates look, you know, how many vegetables are on there, the proportions, that type of thing. But at the moment, obviously, I'm trying to include more starchy carbs, which is good for weight gain, combined with a lot of water intake. Evidently so, you know, evidenced by the fact I put on 1.8 kilos this week, which is fantastic. And it's the first week I've increased my water intake and increased the amount of starchy carbs I'm having throughout the week. But if you're looking to lose weight while maintaining functional lean mass, you know, strip fat ultimately off your body, then the way I eat can just be adjusted. You just reduce the starchy carbs. Don't have to get rid of them completely, but just reduce them. Maybe don't have them with lunch and dinner. Maybe only have them on days that you know you're going to be doing a high volume of activity that day, just so you've got enough fuel to fuel the exercise. You know, a few little tweaks here and there, and the eating style and the types of foods I'm eating can be used for healthy weight gain, healthy weight loss. You just adjust the proportions of certain of the food groups that are on the plate, and yeah, go from there. But anyway, look, have a wonderful week, and I will drop another video probably later on this week. It may be, I might do a shoulder routine video this week. Yeah, and then we'll go on from there. Right, have a great week. Take care, guys. Cheers.